coming up next. Stay tuned to learn more about the state of the art in blockchain and cryptocurrency technology. Reimagine 2020.
So we'll get started with Ashton Barger. He's a business economic major from Miami University, and he and I have worked together in the past on university initiatives, and both have been kind of heads down pivoting to virtual events with all of these shelter-in-place order. I know you just had the virtual blockchain conference a little bit ago. How did that event go?
It was great, actually. It was well attended. We had 500 attendees. We had 60 speakers. Across multiple topics. It's really focused on blockchain education, similar to Reimagine. So I was definitely really excited to put on that event and to be able to contribute to blockchain education at the current time that we're in. So it's definitely exciting for sure.
So why don't we get started by telling us a little bit about the background of how did all of the founders of the Midwest Blockchain Consortium get into blockchain, starting with yourself?
Yeah, so I kind of got into it late 2017, which is actually when the club at Miami University was founded. And so I started getting into crypto a little bit and then found out about the club in early 2018. And then immediately got involved and started doing some research and attending meetings. And then I was able to actually find an internship through a program at my university in Shanghai, China. And so I worked at a centralized cryptocurrency exchange there for 2 months. And I learned a lot of great things, met a lot of great people. It was just so exciting to be in the space. And then when I came back, I got the opportunity to attend a hackathon in Cleveland, and then became the president of our blockchain club that December. And then I was the president last year, and now I'm more in a strategic advisory role. I was also able to co-found a blockchain consultancy called Blocks Consulting, and have been doing some good work there. And then I'm the social media lead of Blockchain for Social Impact Coalition. So I'm really involved on the social impact side for sure. And just, looking to see where it goes in the future, but definitely really excited to be here with everyone today.
Yeah, thanks for joining on. We've also got Zane here. Zane is from Indiana University, and that's actually one of the first student groups that we kind of identified at MouseBelt University. We spent about a month of discovery just interviewing students, researchers, professors at different universities, trying to figure out what's going on with blockchain at universities. And what we discovered was that it was a very grassroots, student-driven movement, and that there were a handful of schools in the US, over and above the Berkeleys and the Stanfords and the MITs, schools like Indiana University that had really robust blockchain clubs. And we identified Indiana University's club as someone who was doing a lot of stuff. And we wanted you guys to be one of our first ever university student groups in our network, which has now grown to, I believe we've had students from 100+ universities in 24 countries engage with our platform in some way. So Zane was there since the beginning. So happy to have you on. Tell me and all our viewers, how did you get into this space?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. It's been a wonderful time so far. I actually got into space, I think it was early 2018. After 2017, I actually read a book called The Blockchain Revolution by Don Tapscott. I'm sure you've all heard of him. He's an awesome writer and big thinker in the space too. And he kind of explained a world in which blockchain lives, what the implications would look like. And that really just inspired me. And I guess I just never stopped reading. Went on and founded the club with a few like-minded friends. And we really took a focus on blockchain education. We ran a couple of unaccredited courses at Indiana University, took cohorts of students through a business course as well as a development course. And so it's been exciting taking it through that. I served as a president for about a year. Now in a senior advisor role after handing it off to someone else, and excited to see where this Midwest Blockchain Consortium heads in the future.
Awesome, thanks, Zane. Adam, why don't you tell us, how did you get into this crazy world of crypto?
Yeah, so Thanks for having me, Ashley. I got interested in this entire space way back in like 2014, 2015. Actually, I was just finishing 8th grade, getting to high school, and my dad actually had
Oh,
me,
gee.
yeah, like my dad had me building Bitcoin mining rigs out of our garage. So if it wasn't for him, I'd probably not be here because like there wasn't any real world problems that like Bitcoin or blockchain would solve for me at the time. But as I got more interested, I fell down the rabbit hole like how most do, got onto crypto, Twitter, and all that stuff, and I didn't stop learning. Come college time, I was itching to find a way to leave an impact on Loyola, but I quickly realized that that would only happen out of passion at like, you know, a huge university, so many people doing their own things. So through meeting the right people, getting the ball rolling, I ended up starting the blockchain arm at Loyola, and we're still a very premature organization, unlike the clubs Alec and, you know, Zane, the rest of my peers run, but that's because we just launched this semester and now we're forced to have like virtual conferences. But yeah, I think it all started way back 4 or 5 years ago in 2014, 15, and just been trying to hack at it every day since then.
Well, that's great. So you're at Loyola. We've heard from Miami, Indiana, Loyola, and yeah, no, it's fine that you're an early stage club. That's what this, hopefully, you know, this Midwest Blockchain Consortium is for. What groups like MouseBelt University are for is to support you and help elevate all of your operations there. So looking forward to working with Loyola more in the future. Let's hear from Andrew.
Definitely. Thank you, Ashley, again for having me on as well. But I got involved very similar to Ashton in the blockchain and crypto space. I would say right around 2016, 2017. More on the crypto side as well with like the crypto boom and everything. And then once I kind of realized that there was fundamental value in blockchain itself, so the technology behind crypto, I was kind of all in and really did like a deep dive into research, and I actually stumbled across blockchain at Berkeley and realized that they're a student organization pretty much dedicated to like advisory as well as like educating their students about blockchain technology as well. So I kind of realized going into 2017, 2018 that there wasn't a student organization on Michigan State's campus that did something similar. I co-founded Spartan Blockchain Solutions with some of my peers. And I think we first were focused on blockchain education and crypto. And now we're transitioning more towards like blockchain advisory. So seeing how blockchain can be applicable for organizations around like Metro Detroit as well as Michigan State as well.
Excellent. And looking forward to like circling back to hear more about, you know, what's going on in Detroit as opposed to Chicago. And it's great to hear that you're consulting. We're going to have a panel. I'll have to follow up with you, you know, breaking into blockchain as a student, but also how a lot of these student clubs have started being able to create businesses for themselves and how companies are looking to students who are more knowledgeable than them to advise their innovation and blockchain teams. So that's great. Nisreen?
Hi, thank you for having me again. So I got into blockchain late my senior year of high school, where I kind of heard about it. And then I came onto campus September 2018, and I got involved with blockchain at Michigan. And I became the VP external the next semester, and then eventually I'm currently president of the organization. And what kind of sets us apart is that we're affiliated with the College of Engineering. So at our core, we're a very technical-minded club. And we launched our first consulting program actually this semester. And we worked with companies like Fortmatic to build out solutions with like multi-sig contracts. And yeah, it's been a great pleasure to be in the space. I also run a healthcare solutions company called Vivica and have competed in the International Blockchain Olympiad as well.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's kind of our philosophy as well at MouseBelt. We started as an engineering shop. So we were building platform protocols on the blockchain, all different kinds of integrations and solutions, and then teamed up with a VC to invest in our own projects. But we've always been very like tech first. And I'm curious if you've seen this as well, but we definitely see a gap in undergraduate hands-on blockchain engineering opportunities and classes. And so that's kind of where we're trying to fill as well with our technical expertise. So
yeah, definitely there is a gap. I think part of my role when I took over the presidency was to revamp our entire educational program. So we actually run a tech track with complete modules, and we actually have students code kind of like a cross between CryptoKitties and like Crypto Zombies style Ethereum project throughout the fall semester. So they have like a deliverable that they can hold and work with.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing. I think we just have, is Alec, we didn't get you, did we?
Nope, not yet.
All right. Alec, what's going on?
Hey everyone, so thank you so much for having me, Ashley. As mentioned, my name is Alec Shaw. I'm an MBA student at Marquette. I first got involved in blockchain when I was a freshman. I was young for my class and I had some older buddies that were able to go to the bars. So unfortunately, my introduction to the whole technology was to buy a fake ID. And at the time, it was trading for $150 in 2014. So one, I overpaid quite a bit. But number two, when the price started to increase in 2017, it was nearly 10 times that of when I was interacting with it. So I really started to understand it, or at least do research into like, what is this underlying technology and why do people see such a bright future for it? That's when I fell into the Ethereum rabbit hole, started, diving into smart contracts. And I was really just impressed with the capability of what this technology could do. So we started a trading club at Marquette. We had tons of attendees when the price was high, and then when the price was low, we had nearly none. So at that time, corporates were reaching out to us, and we started an advisory firm external to university, worked with the university to get an innovation grant, and we hosted a couple large-scale conferences, and now we're engaging with local corporations to do things like business case reports to understand the financial and non-financial returns one could get by implementing blockchain or other emerging technologies.
Excellent. So good to hear. Well, now that we've got all of your intros and backgrounds, who can tell me, like, whose idea was the Midwest Blockchain Consortium?
I can kind of give an intro there. So I originally got reached out to actually through LinkedIn by Zane, and he said, "Hey, we have this club at Indiana, and I've been doing some work and all that, but we've really been wanting to put on a large scale conference, and it was just kind of difficult for them. It seemed like to get the right resources and stuff, and I definitely can vouch for that. It's definitely really difficult." And we wanted to put more of a large scale aspect to it for more students across campuses to attend. And so that was kind of the original idea. It was more of, let's make a Midwest blockchain conference. And so I believe Nizreen was on board at that time. And then through that, we found Alec and Andrew and then eventually Adam. And we really created this idea for the Midwest Blockchain Consortium in order to not just put on conferences, because that's great and all, but we saw other areas where there's lack of resources or lack of access for each of us. Some of us have more technical clubs, some of us have more business focused clubs, and overall we all kind of realized that there's a potential for each of us to tap more into the recruiting side of things and the consulting side of things. And so pulling our resources together just kind of made more sense if we were to kind of leverage each of our own expertises, and then we could come together across campuses and kind of create these different projects and work together to push forward the technology and the education in the space. And so that was kind of the idea, along with the ability to push together innovation, because when you're working across campuses and meeting people from different skill sets, different backgrounds, it's much easier to create teams around what you're really looking for. And so that's kind of what our original idea there was. And we kind of wanted to put on a pitch competition. Sadly, because of COVID-19, we had to kind of push that back to the fall along with the Milwaukee conference. But we have a really exciting goal ahead of us. But it was really crazy start just to see how we were all able to connect virtually, and we're still able to do that. So yeah.
Well, I think it was a great pivot, and you guys really inspired us actually to continue our plans of supporting student events by kind of taking it virtual and supporting your event and having one of our own that we could really feature the great work that our students are doing. So speaking of kind of the impetus of the Midwest Blockchain Consortium, pooling of resources, network effect, some of these difficulties that a student blockchain club might have with putting on something large scale. Maybe someone could chime in about, like, what are some of the barriers that you see? What are the biggest barriers to students right now who want to get involved in blockchain?
Sure, I could jump in here. So why the Midwest was kind of a target area for us is really because of like pure location too. So a lot of like the events, like let's say like New York, like their events, or MIT, like Bitcoin or hackathon or whatever, they're all centered on either coast, right? So like Berkeley has its stronghold in the West, and there's a bunch of like East Coast schools, and it's hard as a college student, especially just financial reasons, also time reasons. It's very hard for us to physically travel to these events. And so we really wanted there to be somewhere that like Midwest students can feel that same energy, get that same exposure, but not have to like really strain themselves for like travel and other things like that. And we also thought that there was like a lot of talent here that was just untapped. And so part of also the barriers for entry is that a lot of these Midwest schools were spinning up our blockchain clubs like pretty recently in the past like 2 to 3 years. And it's no point to reinvent the wheel. I just found like, I was talking to Andrew, I actually met him at their innovation competition that they held. And I was actually pitching Vivica at the time. And I was like, why are we competing, let's say, against like these R2 clubs when we're in the same state and we could like share resources and help each other? And so that's kind of where we realized that let's just help each other and get further faster. So
definitely. I mean, that's what I love about the blockchain space. I actually had a conversation with the business school at Portland State. They have a certificate program in blockchain that's actually open to anybody. You don't even have to be a college student. But one of the barriers that they saw to adoption for blockchain on the business side is that businesses aren't used to being as collaborative as blockchain technology requires and inspires. So it's really exciting to see, you know, younger people, students, blockchain enthusiasts who are so open to collaboration and understand this, like, let's not reinvent the wheel, let's speed up innovation, let's work together. So it's awesome to see that. It's awesome to see an initiative like the Midwest Blockchain Consortium. So talking a little bit more about regional stuff, I have kind of always, since meeting Zane 2 years ago and really having these conversations with so many different types of students from all over the world, I've been spreading the message that, you know, the coastal cities get a lot of attention for what they're doing in blockchain, but there is no reason why some of these schools in the Midwest, some state schools, some public schools can't have as or more robust blockchain programs within their engineering departments or within their student groups as some of these coastal cities. And actually there's a lot going on there that's just not even being recognized. Maybe a two-part question. What is exciting going on in the Midwest right now? And what do you think are the particular interests that might be different for people who, or companies interested in integrating blockchain in the Midwest as opposed to anywhere else in the world?
So I can speak on this specifically to, I would say, that just the Metro Detroit area. So Detroit's home to like all the big three automotive of like U.S. Automotive manufacturers. So just looking at what they're kind of doing, I know like they're proactively reaching out to a lot of universities to explore what applications blockchain can have within the automotive industry. And I know like the Detroit Blockchain Center, which is one of the big blockchain hubs for the area, is very proactive in trying to find developers who are interested in working in the space, as well as just being like that middleman of connecting everyone within the area and looking to host like blockchain events around Detroit as well.
You know, I had in mind, you know, agriculture, supply chain stuff, and it didn't even cross my mind what a hub for automotive supply chain Detroit is. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. What about maybe Chicago or Indiana? Anything specific?
Yeah, I can add on to that a little bit. We actually have a lot of connections with people in the healthcare space at our organization. Nashville is a big center for a lot of healthcare insurers and healthcare providers. And I think, especially during this time, a lot of people are increasingly looking at blockchain applications within the healthcare space. You know, you think about storing healthcare records on the blockchain, giving people power over their own identity when it comes to what kind of healthcare they want. So I think that this space will actually blossom into something a lot bigger. And we've already done a few projects and presentations with companies like Aetna and CVS and others that are kind of in the Midwest area. Aside from that, we've also done one project in decentralized finance that's pretty big, especially in Chicago. You see the Chicago Board of Exchange thinking about Bitcoin futures and a lot of decentralized finance companies are based in Chicago that are working towards a more decentralized future for financial services. I know Adam might be able to talk a little bit more about that, but I know a lot of exciting work.
Yeah, so I know there's a lot of the traditional finance, huge, companies. They're actually trying to implement Lightning Network, the layer 2 solution built atop Bitcoin's blockchain, to kind of leverage faster, quicker trading and whatnot. I know the fund that I interned for, Volt Capital, they just announced recently the Chicago DeFi Alliance, where they're trying to kind of connect DeFi startups, not even just in the Midwest, but around the world, to the talent that's kind of fostered out of Chicago, and kind of like provide guidance and liquidity, any other solutions to the problems that they have. So it's like, it's really picking up, especially at the corporate level.
Yeah, awesome. So, we've got automotive in Detroit, some major financial institutions in Chicago, healthcare institutions in Indiana. Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of opportunity, and it sounds like some of you are starting your own projects, starting this Midwest Blockchain Consortium, interning at really great companies. So it's so exciting to see, and I think it'll be good information for some of our students tuning in about what the opportunities are. And me as a non-technical person, I come from academia, I come from philosophy. I always like to see the diversity of students who are involved in blockchain and all the different majors that you guys have, and how many touch points blockchain technology has. We just listed a few, right? Healthcare, finance, supply chain. So it's awesome to see you guys are all really diving into this and getting good opportunities. See, something else I wanted to ask about. We're kind of running on the end of time here. So if there's one more talking point that you guys specifically wanted to cover, I'll leave it up to you. Maybe Ashton, since you sent the questions over.
Sure, yeah. Something we really like to mention now that we're kind of putting more of a structure to the Midwest Blockchain Consortium is really kind of our future plans and our goals from here. So I can kind of touch on that a little bit. And so, what I mentioned before is we really have this idea of, 1, recruiting, 2, consulting with companies, 3, the education aspect of it, and then 4, being more large scale events as well. And so through each of these pieces, we're hoping to, 1, get students experience more, 2, help companies out, kind of filling that talent gap there, and then 3, really just bringing forward more education. And we've even been further in talks with creating our own courses that can be certified, that you can get badges for, through each of our clubs, having specific people take on a course or take on a workload that will help to educate a specific set of students, for example, within potentially one or multiple topics. And, that's a piece of it. But, really the goal from here is to move on to start connecting with more partners, specifically corporate partners. We're hoping to really to help them develop use cases and get those in the hands of the students and get them experience. And then specifically in the fall, the Milwaukee Blockchain Conference is coming up. So we're most likely going to be putting on a pitch competition there. So we're really starting to get that innovation pushed forward within the Midwest. And so if anyone watching is definitely interested in coming up with an idea or creating a team, definitely start doing that process now and be ready for the fall, because there will be plenty of opportunities through the Midwest Blockchain Consortium for that. And we have our resources there as well. But then also starting to do recruiting events, career fairs if we can, so starting to connect with companies there and really start to build this this membership and this kind of these different pieces of the talent pool together across our different clubs, and making sure that we're all ready to kind of push forward the initiative. But that's kind of our next steps from here. So we're really excited.
Yeah, that's awesome. I guess I do have one more question then, especially as you are building this consortium and looking for industry partners. Just from my own experience of being a university professor and then building a university program and working with students, seeing some of the frustrations that come from working with universities and bureaucracy and how slow things can move, or whether there's enough support. what is the importance of industry involvement in helping university students achieve some of the goals that you have, and what kind of help are you looking for? Like, what could you say to all of the people in the blockchain space right now who aren't like me or MouseBelt University or Blockchain Education Network or any of these, you know, groups that focus on academia and student outcomes? And what we try to do is bring this message to our partners as well. Like, what would you say to people in the blockchain industry about what's going on at blockchain universities and why or whether they should get involved?
Sure. So I can answer this, and feel free everyone else to hop on off this. But I think one of the key points is, like, while we as students wait for our universities to maybe like catch up or find that professor or faculty support, we really are relying on industry partners to provide, I think, primarily opportunity. University students, we really want to make an impact. So if we are allowed to consult with companies, we actually do have a lot of value to provide. And actually some of that value is kind of, in a way, slightly different from, let's say, you just hiring someone, because we're young, we're scrappy, we really want to solve whatever problem you put in front of us as a company. And I think also any just like mentorship, and basically, at least for blockchain in Michigan, as long as I can show that blockchain is really relevant, is a real world problem with real, like, I guess, like real world outside academia, like people solving it and working with it, it gives each club more credibility, and then we'll get a greater like push or incentive for the university to take it seriously and provide more resources. So it's kind of really just building that bridge between industry, academia, and then allowing students to have access to both sides is really the goal.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to quickly add, kind of mirroring what Nasreen was saying, was I also think it's really important for companies and, you know, in the blockchain space and industry to kind of have and like promote the initiative within their company to reach out to students and kind of have, because like I remember like Apple, like at one point was literally sending engineers to high schools and middle schools and colleges to kind of promote why students should learn to code, why they should go into software engineering. Similarly, I think that same initiative should be pushed out by, like, even if it's the Coinbases and the huge companies, they should send out, you know, kind of have this whole initiative to promote learning blockchain, learning Bitcoin, learning crypto while you're in high school, and not just kind of find it in your own interest. So I think that really helped as well.
If I could add one quick thing. So I completely kind of challenge that you face when interacting with universities. So basically corporations understand that they really need technically globally minded, young, capable talent. But the challenge is you can't particularly rely on universities, even like top tier universities, to curate these skill sets, due to the fact that you have oftentimes like a 2 to 4 year waiting period just to get specific new engineering courses approved. And by that time, you're going to be educating students on outdated theories and processes. So it's kind of this unique situation it's a unique debacle. And one result is that students can actually go engage with local corporations and actually propose that they build things like pilot models, or at least seek some sort of innovation funding in order to build an educational club or organization at their university. So there are ways to get around the bureaucracy, and as a result, a corporation gets a tax-deductible donation and also feeds their talent pipeline for their city. So it's really a win-win for both groups.
So speaking of, it might be a good time to plug the Midwest Blockchain Consortium. I'll say one more thing, is that maybe what I'm hearing, and something that I try to communicate to administrators as well, is that maybe they should be accepting more help from industry and collaborating more, and opening their ivory tower doors a little more, and accepting some help on syllabus creation and different things that we've done at MouseBelt University, for example, handoffs of curriculum, and just there's a lot of great people in the blockchain space who are really generous with their time, and the universities have an opportunity to be a leader in blockchain education, and there's a ton of industry people interested in getting involved. Anyone watching this, listen to these students, they're all calling on you. Get involved with what's going on at blockchain universities. donate to some of these clubs. A lot of them are nonprofits. You can get tax deductible donations. A lot of them take crypto because they are crypto clubs. But maybe Ashton, you can sign us off here. Just tell us how can people find you? Can they donate to the Midwest Blockchain Consortium? How does that all work?
Yeah, so we're in the middle of kind of structuring it as we mentioned, but the way that you can reach us is midwestblockchain.org. So we got that website up and ready for anyone to contact us at any time. You can certainly reach out to me. That's bargera2@miamiuh.edu. I'm available there. And then we also have the LinkedIn, which is at Midwest Blockchain Consortium. And then we're on Twitter at Midwest Block C. I just changed the tag the other day. But yeah, so definitely feel free to reach out to us there. Like we said before, we're really excited to be pushing forward. So any kind of founding partners and founding support is definitely very appreciated, and will be some of our top companies and partners for the future. So definitely consider reaching out to us and being generous. But we're hoping to set up as a nonprofit sometime soon. We're not sure how long that's going to take, but we're prepared with our clubs to take any funding or support available. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I hope you get a ton of partnership inquiries from this segment. And any last words to our viewers about how we should reimagine 2020?
Don't stop building and just keep learning. And hopefully we'll all pull out of this all right.
Awesome. Thank you, Nisreen. Thank you, everyone, for joining. This has been another university segment of Reimagine 2020 Blockchain Conference. Thank you, guys, and see you next time.
Thanks, Ashlie.
Stay tuned to learn more about the state of blockchain education at major universities all around the world. Reimagine 2020.